What I want to quickly go through with you now is the difference between disposable and discretionary income. Understanding the difference between these two terms is essential to not only setting a budget, but also essential to determining your wants versus your needs. Let's get started. Disposable income is basically what you have left over after taxes have been taken out of your gross pay. In the previous video we looked at gross pay and what gross pay was. After that gross pay then has taxes taken out of it, what your parents are left with is disposable income. This is the money that can be used to buy the basic necessities. If you want to think of life as wants versus needs, the needs are paid for out of disposable income. The roof over your head, the food that you eat are all needs to basically stay alive in our society and in our world. Disposable income pays for those needs. The wants are paid for with discretionary income. Your definition for discretionary income? Money left over after taxes and after a person has paid for their necessities. Now, discretionary income could be saved, it could be invested in the stock market for retirement, it could be used to go on a vacation. It's important that you think of discretionary income as more of your wants, the things that you necessarily don't have to have. However, they're the things that make life a little bit more fun and enjoyable. Why does this really matter? Well, if you look here, as it says, when an individual applies for a bank loan, the bank often considers the applicant's discretionary income level, so how much fun money you actually have. The loan will most likely be repaid out of discretionary income. So when I go from a $100,000 house to a $200,000 house, what I'm going to see is a steep decrease in my discretionary income. Banks are curious about how much discretionary income I have because I really, most of the time, don't have the ability to not pay for the necessities in life that I'm currently paying for with my disposable income. As it also says on the bottom, in the U.S. economy, is powered largely by consumer spending. Discretionary income is endlessly tracked. So Best Buy, Amazon, those types of stores, they really thrive and they live on your discretionary income. It's analyzed, discussed, and what we see in a recession, which is a brief 3 to 6 month economic downturn, spending basically dries up. People decide not to spend that extra fun money on things that maybe they would have enjoyment in. And what we see is that instead, companies that focus on things that are paid for with disposable income, like food, toilet paper, things like that, those are the companies, even utilities, if I could throw that in. Those companies tend to perform better when our economy is struggling. However, when our economy is recovering, what we see is companies that specialize in disposable income actually see a boost in their profits. So this actually does tie back to the stock market. It's also important when budgeting. Keep in mind, if you keep your expenses low, you will not have to use as much disposable income, and you'll have more discretionary funds left over to save for the things you want. So maybe instead of the unlimited data plan, I go with maybe a smaller data plan. Instead of a luxury car, I go with more of a basic model car. And as a result, I have more discretionary funds to save for retirement, retire at a younger age, go on a vacation, or do other things that I want, that fun money. In the end, though, at some level, you do have to have your disposable or your needs met before you can move on to your wants. Hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know.